So it's been rainy and cloudy here in Tokyo for the past couple of weeks, and I haven't gotten any astrophotography in, which is horrible. Actually, it's actually been like sunny during the day and then cloudy at night, which is extremely frustrating. And I'm sure I'm not alone in needing my astrophotography fix and showing withdrawal symptoms, and my wife sure notices. So what can we do when this happens? Of course, we have lots of things we can do to entertain ourselves when it is rainy and cloudy, or we don't have enough astronomical darkness, that kind of stuff. We can reprocess our old images. There's tons of stuff we can do. But like we get tired of that pretty easily, right? So there's other things that are fun to do as well during these times is like find some third-party data to process from forums like Cloudy Night. Some people make their data available. Or if you want data from really dark sites, there are websites like telescope.live that actually let you download such data, the raw files, even before they get stacked. And then you can stack them yourself and process them yourself and have like the pleasure of processing those images that are really high quality. At least that's the idea. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this website, telescope.live, the kind of data that they offer, all of the services that they offer, and do a full review of that to see whether it is worth the cost. Because yes, there is a cost to it and to accessing its huge library of raw frames. Oh, by the way, I'm Quiv the Lazy Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And so let's get to it. First, a little disclaimer. I was approached by Telescope Live to be an ambassador for them. And I think a lot of other content creators in the space were approached in a similar way. And I do not like being an ambassador for any brand. I've always rejected those offers. And I ended up rejecting this offer from Telescope Live as well. But I told them I'm fine doing a review as long as I have full editorial control and I can say whatever I need to say, positive or negative. They gave me access to their website. They gave me a ton of credits as well, so I could download like really high quality data sets and a lot of them, just so I could show you. And they also provided me with affiliate links, which means that if you decide to sign up to Telescope Live after watching this video using the links that I have in the video description, then I will get a small commission. You'll also get like 2 months half price, something like that. But it does mean that I have an incentive to say that it is a good website, so you sign up and so I get money, right? So just so you are aware of that. Still, as usual, I will do my best to basically keep as objective as possible and also mention all of the negatives that I found because there definitely are some. And we'll get to it in the video, so of course, stay tuned. So I am on the Telescope Live website and this is the main dashboard, but well, let's quickly go through what is available on there, right? The very important stuff are basically those one-click observations here, the planetary imaging, the advanced requests, and then stuff like the forums, tutorials, galleries, that kind of stuff. We'll go into all of that. But let's start with like the root of it. Like, what is this website? This website it started as a remote telescope service, right? Where you could ask like super high quality telescopes paired with high quality cameras in very remote areas to image a certain target at a certain time on a certain day, and then you would get the data, right? And then you can process, etc. And it started like that. But what it has become right now is really a library of all of these raw data files, not from those like specific requests per customer, but from all of the other time when they're pointing those telescopes randomly across different targets on the sky, and then they make available those raw files to their subscribers. And so I think one way to describe this website is that it's simply a repository of high quality raw subframes that you can then stack and process. And it's across a very wide variety of targets. So if we look at it, we'll look at one of the main areas of this website, which is the one-click observations. And you can look at all of the observations that are available, and you can see that there are many available. I think if we look at the bottom and I go to the last page, we are at 279 pages of 24 one-click observations each. each one-click observation is basically 1 hour or around 1 hour of data from those very dark sites. And you can see that they get added quite often. Like the most recent one is 1 day ago, before that was 5 days ago, etc. And they are taken via the telescope network that they have available across Australia, Spain, and Chile. So you can see all of the details of the telescopes. You have Takahashi's 106 paired with QHY 600M, or you even have CCD cameras as well, right? So that are available. Spain has the same thing, some Takahashi, some Oficina Stellare. You have still Takahashi and all sorts of good stuff. And then in Chile, you have some ESA telescopes, plane wave telescopes, and then some humble Nikon lenses, because why not? There are lots of optics and cameras that are available and that are taking images of the sky at very dark locations. And so that's where all of those observations come from. And what's happening is you, as a subscriber of that website, you get a certain amount of credits per month, and you can also buy more credits. And we'll go to the pricing a bit later on to basically buy and download those one-click observations. So for instance, you can see that this observation of NGC 4535 could be bought for 0.9 credits, which basically is equivalent to roughly 1 to 1.5 US dollars. And you can click on all of the details to look at what's available in there, right? So this is the object type. You can see that it was taken with the Chile 1 CMOS telescope. So you could go to the telescope network and see what is this Chile 1 CMOS, and you can see it is taken with a plane wave CDK 24, which is crazy, and a QHY 600M. So you have all of the details that are available there. But if you scroll down, you can see the individual subframes that make up that data stack. You see you have 3 subframes with a blue filter of 5 minutes each, 3 subframes for luminance, 3 subframes for red, and 3 subframes for green. And you have the date, and you have also the preview of each of the images. I can click on it, and you can see we have all of the information that's here. Those images, by the way, those subframes, they are pre-calibrated. Using calibration frames, you can see the details of those calibration frames here, the master bias, dark, and flat, when they were taken. And we'll go back to that a bit later in this video, so make sure to stay tuned. You can see this image, by the way, it has a little satellite trail. So something to keep in mind, it's good to look at those details, right? And so you can go and grab those one-click observations, 1 hour worth each. And you might think like, it's just 1 hour of data, it's nothing. And you'd be wrong, because it's from very, very dark areas. And I showed like an LRGB type of image here, but you can see, I guess this is narrowband, this one, yeah, filter HSO, right? So I can look at this particular image here of NGC 3603. I have no idea what that is, taken with the same telescope. And this time we have sulfur 2, oxygen 3, H alpha. So all sorts of images are available. And in there, if you're interested in like a specific target, you can, go for a specific object name. Let's say I want M51 for a very standard target. I can apply that and see what is available in this library for M51, which is pretty cool. You have wide field views here, and you have like more high resolution stuff depending on the telescope that was used, with different prices, etc., etc. And you can also choose whether you want like HSO, LRGB, the telescope setup that you want to search for. You've looked at the list of telescopes and you decide like, this is the best one, so that's what I want frames for, that kind of stuff. And each time you grab one of those observations with credits, you can immediately download it, and you see it will get downloaded as a zip file. And the latest one I downloaded was M83, and you see it was 181 megabytes zip file, and it contains all of the individual subframes for you to stack. And the subframes, again, they're pre-calibrated. But there's more stuff in there, right? You have observation bundles, and those are basically a bundle of one-click observations. So one-click observations, we saw they're only 1 hour long. What if you want more hours than that? Well, you could grab those one-click observations one by one, in the catalog that we just looked at. Or you could also look for those observation bundles. And here you have much more time, like this one, the Abell 85 supernova remnant. There's 17 hours worth of data there. And it's going to cost 9 credits. So that's like $10 plus, right? So that's where you can see it's quite interesting to see that you can get so much data at once. There are some drawbacks, and again, I'll get to those a bit later. But you also have like future observations, what they are planning on imaging next. And you can kind of like some of them to kind of vote for them and also be able to grab them at a discount when they actually become imaged and available. And you can also suggest new observations, that kind of stuff, to say like, hey, it would be nice if we could image this particular target with this particular telescope. So that's for like the deep sky stuff. There's also some very interesting stuff with planetary imaging. And for these ones, they are much more expensive, as you can see, but they're very high resolution images. It's kind of crazy when you download them. That said, it's mostly stacked already. You don't get the subframes because the subframes would be crazy sizes in the hundreds of gigabytes, so it starts not making sense anymore. And on that, as well as those one-click observations, we'll have a look at what it looks like in PixInsight. And then if you actually want to use Telescope Live as it restarted, as remote telescopes available for you, you can also go into advanced requests and you can create a new request to say like, hey, it would be nice if we could image M51 and let's see, search coordinates. There it is, and go to the next step and say, it would be nice if we could image it with a given telescope. So Spain 1 CMOS, for instance. And it tells me that M51 would be completed in 2 days, right? And then I can click next. And I can just like say astrophotography, and I want LRGB, same exposure time for all of the filters, 300 seconds, next steps. And you can choose like, moon must be below the horizon. And then they tell you like, okay, it's going to complete on this day. Or you can, also have a discount depending on the moon illumination, right? So which makes sense, right? And let's say here we really want the moon to be below the horizon. And you can see that it's going to be completed on June 4th, 2024. And it will cost me 18 credits. So that's where it's expensive. It's much more economical to get this kind of data directly from the observation, the one-click observations. But I have credits. They gave me credits to play with, so I'm gonna do it. And maybe in a later video, I'll tell you how this ended up. But I don't think a lot of people would be making use of that unless you have a very specific rare target that you want to take an image of with one of their huge telescopes for whatever reason, right? This is definitely, I think, a minor use case. And then besides that, you have things like your data archive gives you like all of the stuff that you have grabbed in the past and that you have paid credit for. And you can also download the calibration frames for each of the telescopes. Like, hey, I want the calibration frames for the CCD Chile 1 telescope. Here they are, and you can download the subframes or the masters or both. But because the subframes that you download for the lights are pre-calibrated, I found it's not so useful, although it's good that it's available. And there are some cool stuff that are linked to that as well. In particular, I liked the tutorials that are available. There's quite a few tutorials. They're added quite often. And for instance, this advanced galaxy processing with Cyril, or Cyril, whatever the proper pronunciation is pretty good. I learned a few things there, and it is to combine LRGB data and do a full galaxy processing with just Cyril. There's some PixInsight tutorials. There's this, synthetic luminance in PixInsight, whatever that is. And there's a lot of those tutorials available. They're pretty well organized. And I would say, like, knowing that there's a lot of people who pay for, tutorials of processing from like Atom Block, which are excellent, by the way, but it adds lots of value, I think, to the offering, because it's not just data that you get, you also get access to those advanced tutorials. Whereas if you just watch my videos, I'm pretty much using the same workflow all the time. So it's kind of cool to have access to this kind of stuff as well. And I'd say also one of my favorite features is the gallery thing, and this is the kind of stuff that you see. And okay, we can look at what people have done recently, 3 hours ago, 5 hours ago, 15 hours ago. And it's pretty cool to actually look at those. And then you can think like, this looks awesome. I want to try something like that. And then you have a reference, what someone else has accomplished with an image. So you can choose to do something completely different or try to approach that same processing. And I think it's quite a lot of fun to be able to do that. There's a drawback to that too as well, but I'll get to it. Now, we've basically gone through most of the features of the website and what is available. Now let's look at the actual, the proof is in the pudding. What kind of data is available? So for that, let's go to PixInsight, and this is one-click observations that I took from the antenna galaxies. Oh, actually, no, it's an observation bundle, but this gives you an idea of what you can get. Those images have been stacked already by me in PixInsight, and it's kind of a pleasure to be able to see that those LRGB files are available, and then I can basically have fun. And there's almost no background extraction to do, nothing like that to do. It's just take these images and have fun. Just to give you an idea, what I did is I did some background extraction on each of those images. Then I did a quick linear fit on all of them so that they could have the same levels before using the channel combination to add them together into this color image there. And then it's just as usual, I can process it with the spectrophotometric color calibration, which is what the result gives us here. And it's usable as usual. The image is already plate solved, so there is no additional plate solving to be doing. Then I can do some blur exterminator, which is a pleasure. Like, look at the before and after. So delicious. Some quick noise exterminator, and then stretching it, right? And I can also do similar operations on the luminance channel, stretch the luminance channel, and then we can use LRGB combination to get to an image with more details here. There you see all of this nebulosity. I like this. You add in like some HDR multi-scale transformation, like some color, some curves and colors, and how amazing is this, right? This is a quick result that I can get in 10 minutes. And I'm having so much fun. And there's so much more that you could do on this image. It is, without a doubt, a pleasure to work with. And because there's so many targets available, it's actually really nice to be able to use that. And it surprises me that I feel like that, because historically I haven't been a big fan of such services. Like, just like take your own images. You also have like the Hubble images for free. The James Webb Space Telescope images are also available for free. Why would you use those images instead of the ones from those telescopes? This is closer to what amateur astrophotography is, something that if I had more funds, I could achieve. And if I just move to a dark area, I could achieve as well. I don't know, the feeling is different. I don't know how to express it, but it just feels different. And I am surprised actually to be feeling that. Oh, and by the way, let's quickly have a look as well as some planetary data. This is the type of planetary data that we can get from the planetary observation sets. Like, there's this mosaic of the sun in H alpha, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. I'm not a planetary guy, so I don't know what to do with this kind of data, but it's there. And then you also have like planetary data from Damian Peach on Saturn, and this is without any sharpening done yet. So you have the monochrome data and you have the color data, and they're actually separate, and then you can probably combine them and do all sorts of cool stuff. I have no idea what to do, but that's also pretty cool. And also, like, just to give you an idea, this is another galaxy, M83. These are 5-minute exposures with the blue filter. Just 5-minute exposures with the blue filter. Can you imagine? This is from one of the one-click observation bundles. It's completely crazy. We'll get back to this because I want to highlight something less good about that particular set of data. Okay, so what do I dislike about this tool? Because this is really important to look at, and that's why I didn't want to be an ambassador for Telescope Live. I wanted to have the freedom to mention everything negative I can find about the site. So let's get to it. Before that, remember, if you want to support me, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, in which case, welcome. Leave a comment. What do you think of this? Do you think it's completely useless and you would never use that service? Or maybe you're like me, you're under cloudy skies or rainy skies and you need something to scratch the itch and it could be tempting for you. Let us know down in the comments. And if you want to support me more directly at no cost to you, you're planning on buying anything from Agena or HighPoint Scientific or First Light Optics or astroshop.eu or Amazon even, if you buy after clicking one of my affiliate links down in the description, it helps me out at no cost to you. And of course, if you decide to sign up to Telescope Live using my links, we'll give you 50% off for the first 2 months, and you will also help me. And if you want to help me even more directly, and you guys, you know it, you make the channel possible, you can become a Patreon supporter, link in the description, or a channel member. So thank you so much for that. Anyway, let's go to the negatives. So I have quite a few, quite a little bit of a list. It does not undermine the principle of the website and how much fun it is to, it's possible to have with the website. But it does highlight some drawbacks that I hope Telescope Live can address in the future. From the roadmap that they've given me, it looks like they are aware of a lot of those issues and they are working on them, which is a good thing. Let's go to one of my first big issues and something that I feel should be fixed like much earlier than that. Let's look at this M51 image. It was taken with the CMOS camera on Spain telescope number 1. And what do you see immediately? Isn't there some kind of like circle there? And if we look at the subframes as well, we see like some weird, what appear to be basically calibration issues there. You can see it's very, very visible on this particular preview here. And so I was curious about that, like why would we have such calibration issues? Obviously this was taken in 2024. The flat bias and dark frames, they're from 2023, over a year ago. Well, actually less than a year ago since this was taken. So that probably factors into it. But then the calibration frames for the other telescopes are also just as old and they don't exhibit the same issue. So I downloaded a random set of data from that telescope, which was the Dark Shark Nebula, and I looked at it at a single frame in PixInsight. And you can see that the calibration issue isn't as bad as the previews made it look like, but there is definitely some over calibration going on there, which makes me suspect some bias frames issue. I downloaded the calibration frames as well. This is the flat frame, this is the bias frame. They look fine, right? But somewhere, somehow, there is an issue. And it's actually very interesting because I went to the one-click observations I filtered by telescope to this affected telescope. And the first image in the history from February 2023 doesn't look like it has any of those calibration issues. And those master bias dark and flats are even like they're from January, right? But afterwards, the image taken afterwards, for whatever reason, actually those look kind of okay. But once you get like after this particular period, you start seeing this issue. Like at that Veil Nebula, you can see that like weird lens effect that we have here. And I feel this should be detected and remedied by Telescope Live much faster. There is, of course, the redeeming quality that you can see very clearly in the preview images that, you know, these particular images have some calibration issue. It's probably not going to be a big deal if you crop the image and you stretch wisely, but still it's something that I feel should have been noticed and corrected. And it becomes a bit bad if we look at the observation bundles. Because if I get to the observation bundles and I select this telescope that we know is affected by those problematic calibration frames, when you have those observation bundles, you get only a single preview. You do not get the previews of each of the individual frames, the subframes, even though that's what you'll be downloading. So you have to grab that whole thing kind of subframe sight unseen. And in some examples, it's very obvious that there's an issue. So this one, that's fine. I know that something like weird is happening there. But others, it's not as visible. And maybe after I've bought this observation and I download it, then I will notice the calibration issue. And so that's a bit of a bummer. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's something that I'm missing, but the frames that we download are pre-calibrated. I wish we had like the uncalibrated frames, because that flat issue, I think with some offset on the bias or on the flat itself, it might be fixed if I could calibrate from scratch. But of course, the best thing is to not have this calibration issue in the first place. But it really brings me to the fact that in all of those like observations and all of those frames, light frames that you can download, it's organized in a way that's a bit weird to me, and it feels like a historical thing. They want to link it back to the fact that it was taken by their telescopes in remote observatories, in that you can grab them by those bundles or you can grab them by those sessions. But I feel like instead of doing that, I should be able to just like select a target and see all of the subframes that are available for that target. And I should have access to things like the quality of the subframe, SNR computed, number of stars. It's a simple indicator that tells us if the quality changes. And maybe even let the users rank maybe each of the observation bundles or each of the subframes themselves, so that they can warn each other and we can filter more efficiently. Because at this stage, it's no longer really remote telescopes. It's a database of super cool raw frame images that we can stack and have fun with. And so we should be able to like shop, like add. I want to be able to look at all of the subframes and click add to cart, and then I can go to my cart and then buy all of those subframes, rather than be constrained to that like kind of weird data model of those one-click observations. Oh, and this problem is compounded by a small interface issue. Like if I'm looking at this target, NGC 4535, right? Maybe I want to grab multiple of those quick one-click observations. So I want to be able to compare them, right? So I would normally right-click on all details and like open as a new page, or middle click on it so it opens as a new tab. No, you can't do that. You have to be in line, look at it here, go back, have a look at the other one, and then kind of compare like that. That's not, a good way to be comparing and shopping for your subframes. It's a small detail, but it matters. So really, I would love to have like all of the subframes I can compare one by one, that I can filter by quality, number of stars, FWHM, whatever, social ranking, all of that kind of stuff, even focal length. Right now we can filter by telescope, but we have to remember which telescope it is each time. So yeah, interface issues, the data is there. Everything is there to be able to achieve that, but it is currently not available. Oh, and another little issue that I found is if you go to the planetary imaging, the costs there are high, right? 10 credits, 5 credits, sometimes 1 credit, right? But you can only grab. You have kind of no idea what you're grabbing before you're grabbing it. But you can see here, just for you, I grabbed like the Sun and Saturn. We had a look at those earlier, and we can see we see some auto-stackered stacks of those images with the parameters, the colored data that's available, just like I mentioned earlier, and you're able to play with that data. But it's weird that I don't know what I'm grabbing before I'm grabbing it and effectively paying for it. So that's why kind of right now my preferred way of doing things is via the one-click observations rather than the bundles or the planetary imaging. I mean, anyway, I'm not into planetary imaging, but it's very interesting. And another thing as well, something to be careful about, and it goes back to those quality indicators, because how close to the meridian was the target at? What was the phase of the moon as well? Those are data that I would want to see on each of those images. But you can see I've searched for M83. There's tons of M83 information that's available, and I grabbed one of those. Let's look at the details of that image of M83 that I grabbed. And let's scroll down and look in particular at the blue filter. Look at the previews for the bottom 3, the blue filter. This one, and that one. They don't look the same, right? This one looks brighter than the other one. Was there some passing mist or cloud or whatever that caused an issue? Probably. So I grabbed this observation after finding it, and then I opened it up in PixInsight. And this is how it looks like. I'm still amazed by the fact that those are 5-minute exposures. This is unstacked. These are the raw frames, but these are the 3 blue frames. And you can see this one in particular, there's just not the same amount of nebulosity. They're not the same at all. Look at that. Like the difference is night and day. And yeah, indicators like number of stars or SNR, that kind of stuff, would have helped me figure that out without having to look at each subframe individually. Oh, and there's one more thing as well. Like if you go to observation bundles and you look at this one, the very top one that has like 8 hours and 30 minutes of data. Okay, so I bought it, I downloaded the data, and you can see it's taken with the Chile 1 CMOS telescope. Let's have a look at the specs of that telescope. So let's go to Chile, Chile 1 CMOS. Where are you? You're here. So we have a plane wave CDK24, and we have a QHY 600M with like those basically 60 megapixels. That's awesome, right? Oh, and something I didn't mention, you can click on more info to go to the page about this particular telescope. And it's something that you really want to do, because I grabbed this observation bundle expecting the 60 megapixels. But on this page here, it tells you that the pixel resolution is actually bin 2. And it's weird that I had to go to all of those details to like the telescope and then more info to figure out it was bin 2. And that's actually not how I figured it out. I figured it out after downloading the dataset. And so again, I don't think it's a deal breaker, but it does really tell you that we need to have, I think we need to just have the list of subframes with tons of ways we can filter and sort, and all of the information available in one place without having to look at the telescope separately. Basically, a big table. That's what I would love to see. And there's some really good stuff, like the previews available on the one-click observations. That's really good, but it can be better. Oh, and a little also pet peeve of mine, and this is, I think, also something they'll want to work on. I know they're working on some more social kind of features, but if I go to the image gallery, I see this image. This image looks absolutely amazing. We can see Telescope Live is part of it, and it was, processed with this software. This is so cool. So where's the raw data? How can I download it? Why isn't there a link to the raw data that was used for this? Sure, I know the telescope, and it's a 2-pane mosaic, and I have the names of the 2 kind of targets, so I can search for them, and then we have like the date of observation here. But why isn't there a direct link? Am I missing it? It doesn't look to be the case, but that is something that, there are so many small improvements that can be done and that I hope to see. Okay, but what about the pricing? How much does it cost? So here we have the pricing table, right? And it's basically paying per month. And you can see you have bronze, silver, and gold would be the things that are relevant to most people. I think platinum and diamond are, I don't know if you have good income. And it's still cheaper than buying the same equipment for quite a while, but it gets quite expensive. Still, like you look at bronze, and you'll have 5 credits per month. That's enough in my experience for like 4 to 5 one-click observations, which is actually already a lot of fun. I mean, remember those M83 quality. Like this is a single frame. And with this one-click observation, I got 12 of this kind of frame. Although I think a better deal is at least the silver one, because then you have access to the tutorials, the premium tutorials. And I think there's really some value in those. And you have 20 credits per month. So this is better. It's still not nothing. It is, a significant investment per month. It's, more expensive than YouTube Premium or Netflix or something like that, right? So it is something to be taken into account, but then it's a unique offering, like all of those super cool telescopes with super cool cameras from super dark sites and all of that data that just keeps rolling in, right? So that's I kind of really like that. But as I mentioned, there are drawbacks, which I hope they're working on. But of course, you can have a look for yourself. I'm not going to go into all of those details. I'd say for most people, it would be $24 a month and maybe $60 a month if you really want to download a lot of the data, because then you have 50 credits per month. And so that's the range of price that you should be looking at. Is this worth it? That's completely up to you. And so with all of that, the pricing, the huge advantages, as well as the points that are kind of sticking for me that I detailed in this review, what do you think of this? Like, let me know down in the comments. While you're going there, like the video, subscribe to the channel, in which case, welcome. And let me know if I should like do more with this data and have more fun with it. Again, if this review made you want to subscribe to Telescope Live, you will get 2 months at 50% off by using the links down in the description, and you will also help out the channel at the same time, which is always appreciated. And of course, there's other ways to help. If you're planning on buying any equipment from Agena, HighPoint, First Light, etc., or Amazon for that matter, it doesn't have to be equipment, it can be anything from Amazon. If you do so after clicking my affiliate links, it helps the channel out at no cost to you. And of course, the premium way of supporting the channel is Patreon, link in the description. Our channel membership, you have the join button next to the subscribe button, and that makes all of the difference. Again, thank you so much, guys. But more important than all of that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the stars, at the clouds, at the rain, or maybe at your computer screen if you're processing data from Telescope Live or your own old data to pass the time and scratch the itch. But anyway, with that, I'll see you next time.